If you feel really, really bad, you will, by need, make it seem bigger than Texas. Because to validate any intense emotional stimulation requires generalized rules, which ultimately will limit your choices. You'll have proven yourself right, but at what cost? As I've mentioned many times before, your neurology is designed to help you gather information that fits with what you already believe to be true. There is an inbuilt need to validate how you feel, and if you do feel really, really bad, then you must find ways to make the world realize just how bad it truly is. You can easily take the one thing and make it seem like everything, whilst creating negative focus around a feeling of must do, need to, have to, which of course completely limits the options that are available to you. Once you've given yourself this one choice that has to happen, there is a good chance that you will then limit it further by making it probably seem impossible. Not exactly a winning combination. In Neuro-linguistic programming's listening skills, we have meta model generalizations, which are a particular type of language structure made up of two key language patterns. These, in my experience, are the far easiest to spot. These two key NLP Meta Model generalization language patterns are universal quantifiers and modal operators of possibility and necessity. So what are generalizations in NLP, and why do you want to listen for them and learn how to challenge them? Generalizations have a tendency to occur negatively when someone has a particular experience that stimulates for them a highly associated, usually intense emotional state that then gets supported by highly generalized rules that are applied broadly across the entire context of the experience. The problem that we get from these rather sweeping generalizations, it can very much limit the person's thinking, their choices, and ultimately their behavior when taken too far or used inappropriately. When we train our ear to hear metamodal generalizations, and we know exactly what questions to ask to challenge the presented skewed and exaggerated reality, it serves us and the other person in a positive way because it has the power to open up new perspectives and introduce more supportive options. So let's now dive into the detail as to what structure you will hear when presented with either of these two powerful language patterns that are key generalizations. First, we have universal quantifiers. Now, universal quantifiers are words that imply a totality or absoluteness to certain components of the experience. I like to make the point when training this that universal quantifiers can never actually be true other than in this sentence. One thing can never be everything, and it's highly unlikely that something will ever be all things to everyone. Challenging the generalized universal parts of the experience is our way of looking to uncover, more like disrupt, the evidence or lack thereof that would support it being every time, always, everyone, no one, and everything. This helps to bring the focus back to the factual, tangible things that are being experienced and is an easy way to introduce doubt about their exaggerated perceived truth. Common universal words that you will hear are the classic always, never, everyone, no one, all the time, every time. I can pretty much bet that you'll hear something along these lines today in some way in one of your interactions. Everyone ignores me. They never listen to me. No one cares. They're always criticizing me. These statements suggest rigid, all-encompassing, massively exaggerated, universal black and white thinking. Because of the overwhelming nature of it, being everyone all the time, it's hard to fix and will often lead to feelings of helplessness or resentment, which definitely will not reflect the true reality if investigated well. So how do we best challenge this skewed thinking? To help loosen up these universal quantifiers, you might first reflect back the universal that was used with a raised eyebrow and using an up inflection questioning tonality, then ask for a counterexample, which would sound something like, everyone? Can you think of someone who doesn't ignore you? Never? Has there been a time where someone has listened to you? No one? Can you think of at least one person who cares? These questions challenge the absolute nature of the statement and help the person to recognize exceptions to their perceived belief. This also confronts them by demonstrating inside of self that they have no tangible evidence to support the exaggerated statement. This will ultimately open up their thinking because we have disrupted the intensity of the emotion associated to the universal. Next, we have modal operators. And modal operators come in two types, which are represented by words that indicate a scale of possibility all the way through to impossibility, as well as a varying scale of intensity representing need. If you remember from my previous introduction video to Meta Model, I mentioned that I would directly link NLP presuppositions to Meta Model. And modal operators are the same as possibility and necessity, which was language pattern number 2 on the NLP presuppositions list. They represent and control what people believe they must do, should do, can't do, will do, or could do, which directly influences their behavior and decision-making. So let's first look at modal operators of possibility. These are the words that unconsciously represents the sliding scale of what a person believes is possible, all the way through to what they may think is impossible. Some examples are can't, I can't speak in public, can, I can only go if you come with me, could, I could never say something like that, might, I might be available sometime on Tuesday next week. Also be aware that all of the can-dos, could-dos, and might-dos can also be represented from the not perspective, as in can, can't, could, couldn't, might, might not. These statements often give us an insight into an entrenched limitation that a person may well have in what they believe is possible or impossible for them. If someone thinks they could do something, or that they would do something, or even if they can do something, it still doesn't mean that they will do it. Ultimately, in any communication, we can only have certainty if we can get a person to a place where they know that they can do it and they have actually agreed that they will do it. You may want to also pin them down to by when. Your meta model challenging questions will be designed to expand their sense of possibility for the speaker. You can simply ask either for their reasons or pose a counterexample question. What would happen if you could? What stops you from going on your own? How do you know you can't? These questions will help the speaker to reevaluate their assumptions about what's possible by challenging the generalized information, which will help open up options for them. Next, we have modal operators of necessity. These express what someone believes they must do, have to, need to, or should do. These usually indicate that the person has an unspoken negative focus or doubt. This means that there's a very good chance that inside their mind they are staring at consequence. What will happen if they don't? Some examples are must. This must succeed. Have to. I have to do everything myself. Should. I should find a way to be better at this. Also be aware that these can also be represented from the not perspective as well, as in should, shouldn't, must, mustn't, need, needn't. Our meta-model challenging questions will help to flip the focus to discover the consequence or simply to ease the burden of necessity. To best do that, you can ask, what would happen if you didn't? Who says that you have to? How do you know that you should? This encourages the person to uncover the core intent, reconsider perceived rigid obligations, and explore alternative choices or motivations. So why is it so important to challenge generalizations? When someone speaks using universal quantifiers or modal operators, they are at risk of further fueling through validation their emotional state. They will also be limiting their options without realizing it. By using the meta-model questioning skills, you're disrupting the unconscious acceptance of these usually ridiculous generalizations. This will help them to reconnect with a more accurate reality and acknowledge exceptions, expand their thinking around behavioral choices that they have, and challenge entrenched limiting beliefs and the root cause of them. They'll also gain access to required wisdom that will help them to evolve. A problem is hard to validate if it only happens for a couple of minutes every second Tuesday. If there is only one person in accounts that they have to deal with for an hour at the end of each month that they feel doesn't respect them. That reality is hard to justify to yourself and others that it's a terrible problem. It's far easier if it's happening all the time, or if it's everyone who doesn't respect you. Universal quantifiers allow us to make it seem far bigger than it actually is, which helps us to rationalize why we feel so bad about it. And using modal operators to help limit our choices around any sort of solutions also helps to justify and maintain this terrible, terrible problem that we believe to be real. Recognizing and challenging these language patterns is a powerful way to get us unstuck and focused toward possibilities that will bring greater clarity, flexibility, and empowerment in communication and behavior. Using the NLP Meta Model, we can assist ourselves and others in breaking free from limiting mental and emotional patterns, opening up a broader range of choices and more resourceful ways of thinking and acting. That is generalizations. Our next video is going to be all about meta-model deletions and the 5 powerful language patterns that help to keep things hidden. So please do like and subscribe if you want to continue to learn more about what things need to be kept out of your awareness to ensure that negatives are allowed to persist, as we are committed to continue to learn, evolve, and create positive change together.